All right, welcome to our monthly membership meeting for December 2025. I cannot believe it is December and we are here, and another year has flown by. Before I share slides, does anyone have any questions or topics that they want to make sure that we have that we discuss today? Any questions or anything? I'm happy to answer those first, and then I have some slides to organize things I share afterwards. Anybody have anything? All right, then I will share and go through these slides pretty efficiently. Let's see, go to presentation mode. So it's full screen. All right. So the next time we will meet for this monthly meeting will be in January. Tuesday, January 6th is the first Tuesday of the month. We will meet at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So you can put that on your calendar if you like to join these meetings. Hopefully, I'm going to have a good amount of time to work on some things, and we're going to do some fun stuff in 2026. We discussed it. I think it was actually in our exercise coaching call last week that we're going to do some fun challenges in 2026 where we pick a time period. And this is something we can discuss a little bit later. I'd love to get feedback from all of you, but I'm thinking like 3 times next year is when we'll do it. And we'll probably pick some type of physical challenge. Like one, it might be steps goals, like how many steps are you getting per day? And we might, have set a goal to increase that. One might be frequency of exercise or trying a new type of exercise. And then we'll have something that is non-physical as well, or non-exercise based from the book, The Parkinson's Plan. At the back of the book, they have 25 recommendations about things you can do to decrease exposure to toxins, to minimize risk of getting Parkinson's, and that hopefully will impact progression of Parkinson's over time. So if you're already diagnosed, the goal is to slow progression as much as possible over time. And so if you decrease your exposure to toxins, that's one of the ways that you can help do that. And then, these are things you can share with family and friends because, we want to help decrease the incidence and cases of Parkinson's over time. So people who do not have Parkinson's can implement these things as well to decrease their risk. Like one of the things that I've already started doing, I kind of want to go get the book to look at it, but one of their recommendations is when you're driving to have your windows closed, because air pollution, and especially from cars, is one of the things that when we get exposed to that, it is not good for us. And I am the type of person, I really like to drive with windows open. I like what I thought was fresh air coming in, as opposed to, having air conditioning on. I liked, feeling the breeze through my hair when I was driving. So I would drive with my windows open a lot. So that's something I'm changing. I'm keeping my windows closed more. And in terms of kind of the, AC or heat or whatever's on, I'm switching it to be, where it uses the air inside your car. So that if you were parked at your house or somewhere where, there wasn't a lot of pollution, then you kind of keep breathing that air when you drive places. And because when you're on the road, like on a freeway, is when you're around a lot of that air pollution. So that's one of the things that I've already started doing differently. So we would probably have a list of options of things that you could try or do differently. And then you'd pick for the challenge, you'd pick maybe one or a couple of those things to do differently. So this is the book I'm talking about, The Parkinson's Plan. It's written by a couple movement disorders neurologists. And so, they've got towards the back of the book, they've got Parkinson's 25 things that you can do. Wash your produce, even your organic ones, make changes to your diet, make sure your grocery store is safe. I'm not going to read all of these right now, but for the grocery store, this is another thing, I've never really thought about before. So a chemical called perchloroethylene, PCE, the dry cleaning chemical, can readily spread beyond the walls of a dry cleaner. In Germany, PCE, which dissolves in fat, has been found in dairy products in supermarkets near dry cleaners. Germany now prohibits supermarkets from being located close to dry cleaners. You may want to steer away from them as well. So it's something you look and see, where do I do my grocery shopping? Is it in the same strip mall as a dry cleaner? I might consider shopping somewhere different. I might go a little bit, further away or just go somewhere different that is not. When you become aware that dry cleaners use certain chemicals that are not great for us, you also maybe did more dry cleaning before, and you might say, I'm going to stop doing so much dry cleaning. And then kind of be aware of the places that you go and what is the proximity to a dry cleaner. I have to say, at Rogue, at the strip mall down next to us, there is a dry cleaner there. They are not busy at all. So I don't think they're doing a ton of dry cleaning. They also are a tailor. But I also think those people are getting closer to retirement. And so I will be okay if that switches to a different type of business instead of a dry cleaner. That is not something, that was on my radar at all when I was looking for a location. There's so many factors that make it hard to find a space, to work in. So it's not like we're going to move, but I am hoping that they might retire sometime soon and a different type of business go into that location. So these are, some things that we might not have thought about and, can make changes. So I think those challenges that we're planning on doing in 2026 will be fun. So this month is kind of the opportunity for myself and our other physical therapists to do some planning and thinking about 2026. So there'll be a lot of good, fun things to share in January when we have that next meeting. Our exercise of the month is snow angels. So I sent out a video in today's email, I believe, where Maddie's giving a demo. So snow angels, many of you are familiar, and it's the time of the year that's becoming an opportunity. So snow angels are typically when you lie on your back and you make big movement with your arms and your legs. And then when you stand up, it looks like an angel in the snow. And it's a great movement and stretch to do when we're on our back, but also in other positions. So we're going to do snow angels. We'll do them on our back, but we will also do them in other positions. Snow angels are great for stretching out the muscles in the front of our shoulders, strengthening the muscles in the back, getting good stretching through our elbows, through our shoulders, all throughout our body. So Maddie is showing and doing a demo here. We might sometimes do upper body, then lower body, or put it together. And we'll try doing some variations in other positions as well. So here she's even going to show on our stomach. Here we might do like one body part at a time, or this is like a top level version where you're lying on your stomach, lifting your head and chest a bit so you can move your arms. This is an intense exercise. So we'll work our way up to that. But this is what we'll be doing all throughout December. It's going to be a great workout. Our member highlight is Jay, and he is a gentleman who exercises more consistently than almost anyone I've ever met. So it's really inspiring to hear what he does, how he follows through. He's got a routine, and having a routine is something that's really helpful. So I think he does pretty similar workouts from one day to the next, and that's something that helps him be consistent. That might be something in the past you maybe have been like doing something different every day. And I don't know, maybe that's something you think about if you notice that I do something different every day and it's a little bit harder for me to do it every day, or I know I like some things and I don't like other things. If you had a goal about consistency of exercising more frequently throughout the week, you might say, hey, I'm going to pick one thing that I enjoy doing, and that's what I'm going to do for a period of time just to get that consistency happen. So I recommend watching his video. It was in the link today as well. I won't actually play it during this meeting, but we already got one response from someone saying how inspiring it was. And I think it's just, great to hear other people's stories, and he's exercising really consistently and he is experiencing very minimal change over time. So likely that hard work and time that he is putting in is paying off. Our equipment highlight for this month is a weighted vest. And weighted vests, you may have seen, even like if you walk in your neighborhood, you might have seen, especially middle-aged women are the ones most likely to be wearing it out there. Weighted vest is something that can just add a level of challenge to your system. So it's like carrying weights, but it's just on your body. So it's distributed a little bit differently. So wearing this during power moves or another class is just going to add a level of challenge. It's going to help you burn more calories if you wanted to lose a little bit of weight. It's going to help your muscles get stronger. It also provides some sensory input into your system, which can be really valuable. When you're trying to improve posture, if you have a weighted vest on that makes it more obvious to you if you are kind of rounding forwards versus you feel more significant difference when you're really upright. So a weighted vest can actually be helpful just because of the input that it provides and what you feel differently. And then there's some research that it can help with bone density. So that's why there's a lot of middle-aged women out there walking around. So a whole form of exercise is called rucking, where you go for walks wearing a weighted vest. So it adds, again, more resistance, you burn more calories, potentially increase bone density. Most likely to really increase bone density, you also need to do some high impact exercises. So you still need to be doing your stomps, your weight training, but it could really help your walk just be even more effective. So here we show some videos of people doing different things, wearing that vest. The vest comes in all different weights. There are some vests that you can buy that are adjustable in terms of the amount of weight. So you can start lower and add weights in as you go over time. Those tend to be more expensive. Then there also are vests. These were bought off Amazon, where you can start with 10 pounds or 12 or 14. I think the recommendation is about 10% of your body weight. You can always start a little bit less. If you're wearing it when you first start, the recommendation is to wear it for shorter bouts of time initially, and then work your way up to longer periods of time and wearing it during exercise. It really is just a pretty interesting feeling to have that on. Like to me, it really did bring awareness to my body. And that's something that can be really helpful with Parkinson's. A lot of times, sometimes you just feel like there's a bit of a disconnect between your brain and your body. So sensory techniques like adding something weighted can really help activate the brain in a different way. For some people, like a weighted blanket can be something that's really calming, helps them with a meditation or helps them with sleep. So you might even find that wearing a weighted vest is like grounding to you. Maybe you feel a little bit more grounded in your body. Might be great to wear one even like during a stretch and flow class where we're doing guided meditation. And also that weight could bring more grounding into your body. So they're pretty cool, relatively inexpensive. So that's something, if you want to, you could ask for Christmas. Our research highlight, I didn't get a chance to make a video. Oh, do we have a question? Okay.
I'll tell you that.
I didn't get a chance to make a video for our research highlight, but we get asked about probiotics a lot. And this is something, that a lot of people are interested in. What can I eat? Supplements, probiotics. What can I do to help my gut be healthy, my brain be healthy? And so far, there's not a lot of research on probiotics. It's actually kind of tricky because in some cases, probiotics that are thought to be beneficial have been found to actually already be found at higher levels in people with Parkinson's. So then it's kind of like, well, it does, if something's already higher than average, it does, and that person has Parkinson's, and we don't think adding more is going to be helpful. So right now, I think Dr. Mishley, when it comes to probiotics, and anybody can let me know if there's an update on this, but in the past, I think she has recommended using them for short amounts of time, like to recover if you have a GI bug or something like that. But that she didn't know, she didn't have one where she said, you should just be on this all the time forever. So research is ongoing. And this study was published pretty recently. And here is the abstract. So background gut dysbiosis. So, the health of the gut is really important. The gut and the brain are connected. This involvement in people with Parkinson's disease support the use of a treatment that would affect the gut microbiota. Probiotics may help manage constipation. However, mechanisms underpinning additional beneficial properties are unknown. So the objective in this study was to evaluate the effects of a probiotic. All these long names, I'm going to mispronounce that. So they wanted to look at, with 4 strains, what was the effect on gut microbiota, inflammation, motor and non-motor symptoms in people with Parkinson's and constipation. So they're looking at a lot of different things. So the methods, this was a multi-center randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial, kind of the highest level when you're multi-centers. That means you're getting kind of groups from different locations, which is important. It was randomized, double-blind. The person didn't know what they were on. The researchers didn't know which one they were on. And there was a placebo. People with Parkinson's and constipation were randomized 1-to-1 to either receive the probiotic or placebo orally for 12 weeks. The primary endpoint was the differential abundance of gut microbiota taxa between baseline and end of treatment in the active versus placebo group. Secondary and exploratory endpoints included changes in inflammatory cytokine, plasma levels, so how much inflammation was in the body, short-chain fatty acids, plasma, and fecal levels, motor and non-motor outcomes after 12 weeks. A per protocol analysis was performed. So the results, so this study, this is how research works. This happened a few years ago. So between 2019 and 2022, 74 participants were randomized. Data from 35 people on the probiotic and 33 on the placebo were analyzed. Enrichments of bacteria with beneficial health-related properties were observed in the active group compared to the placebo. Pro-inflammatory cytokine TNF alpha plasma levels decreased with probiotic treatment and increased with placebo. So things that increased inflammation went down with the probiotic, but went up with the placebo. So inflammation was better. It was less. No changes to the short chain fatty acid levels were observed. Reduction to time to on and non-motor scale scores were observed only in the active group. So basically saying that like when people took their medication, it kicked in faster when people were taking the probiotic. So that's a great thing. And non-motor scale scores were better in that group as well. So it's pretty cool, pretty promising. This probiotic was effective in beneficially enriching the gut microbiota with potential to reduce systemic inflammation, shortening time to on following levodopa administration and alleviating non-motor symptom burden in people with Parkinson's who were experiencing constipation. So this is pretty cool to see. I don't know that this probiotic is available commercially yet. This research article is available free full text. I'm going to link it in the email tomorrow. So if you want to download it and take it to your doctor for them to see this update, I think, does it say? No, it doesn't have the date there of exactly when this was published. But it'd be great to take this article to them. And then I think this is something they'll be interested in and ask them, if you are interested, let me know when something like this is available. I would potentially like to try it. Dr. Michael Okun, who is the movement disorders neurologist at the University of Florida, he had posted about this article, which is how I saw it. And I just wanted to post but will I be able to find it fast enough? I wanted to read what his thought was about this. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to be able to find his post fast enough to read what he wrote. But if you follow Dr. Michael Okun on social media, if you're on Instagram, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of junk out there in social media, but he posts really interesting articles that are very helpful. And he kind of says, not just summarizes the article, but says, what his perspective is as a movement disorders neurologist working with people all the time. But yeah, it's taking me too long to find this link. I know I'm so close. I'm going to scroll through a couple more, see if I find it. He is one of the authors of the Parkinson's Plan book. All right. Oh, here we go. This is it. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So his post on this article was, can probiotics calm the gut and the brain in Parkinson's? Results of a randomized study on a 4-strain probiotic just dropped. Spoiler alert, maybe. Microbiota refers to the diverse community of microorganisms living in the gut that play key roles in digestion, immunity, and communication with the brain through the gut-brain axis. Leda and colleagues describe in a new paper in Movement Disorders how a 4-strain probiotic affected the gut bacteria, inflammation, and symptoms in Parkinson's. This international and randomized clinical trial led by Leda and Chaudhary examined whether daily intake of the probiotic for 12 weeks could reshape the gut microbiota and influence both motor and non-motor outcomes. Key points: the probiotic they gave enriched beneficial gut bacteria, pro-inflammatory cytokines decreased in the probiotic group and increased in the placebo group, suggesting possibly reduced systemic inflammation. Participants taking the probiotic experienced shorter time to on following their levodopa dosage, and they also experienced improved non-motor symptoms, especially fatigue and constipation. That's huge. His take: This study is a step in the right direction. However, we will need more groups to publish their data in order to sort out the probiotic question and to translate it into something we can talk about in clinical practice. Here are 5 points that resonated with me. 1, gut health may play a key role in Parkinson's, and improving it with specific probiotics may help symptoms beyond constipation. 2, in this study, the probiotic Simprove, so that might be the brand name of it, was safe, well tolerated, and led to changes in gut bacteria and inflammation after 12 weeks of therapy. Note number 3, some participants reported faster onset of medication effect, which may have been an effect on gut motility and absorption. 4, improvements in fatigue and gastrointestinal well-being suggest the intriguing possibility that probiotics could touch multiple Parkinson's pathways through the gut-brain axis. However, this conclusion remains speculative. And 5, that larger and longer studies are needed. So that's always seems to be the case with research. Okay, we learned a little bit from this, but now we have more questions and we have to continue the research. But still, I think it's cool. And it's nice to know, we talk a lot about the exercise studies. It's nice to know the other kinds of studies that are happening and what might be potentially relevant. All right, important dates for December. So I think it's been 3 or 4 years now that we take an entire week off at the holidays. This is, really special as a business that's pretty busy all year round. We really want to give our therapists a good break, the opportunity to travel. And we tend to find that the week of Christmas, people are pretty busy with things going on. So this year, our closure dates are a little bit different every year, depending on when Christmas is happening and kind of how it falls with the weekends. We like to take a whole week off with a weekend on each side to give people the most opportunity to travel. So the first 3 weeks of December, we are open with regular hours. Then the week of Christmas, so Monday, December 22nd through Friday, December 26th, we will be closed that whole week. We will not have in-person classes or online classes. We'll have the video library will be available. We definitely want people to keep exercising, but we'll take this whole week off. So please mark your calendars. It will, I'll put messages in the daily emails as we're getting close to the date as well. And then this week I will send out kind of the Saturday email where it says we're closed, no live classes, but I'll send the links to the video library. So it makes it easy for you to go in and join and do those classes. So we'll still be in communication that week, but no live classes. We will come back the following week and be open Monday through Wednesday and Friday, but we will be closed January 1st for New Year's Day as well. So for that federal holiday. So December is kind of a long month. Even though we're closed for a whole week, we still have almost 4 weeks of being open as well. So it's nice that December is kind of long because we still get in a lot of good exercise and also get a whole nice long week off. So mark your calendars for that. Other important dates, basically none for December. We're making it a light month for commitments. We aren't going to have an educational meeting this month. And we scheduled our next book club for January as well. So no extra commitments. We'll still have our weekly exercise coaching calls on December or in December on Mondays, except for the 22nd. Otherwise though, just a heads up for the future. And my goal for 2026 is to have things scheduled a bit more in advance. So we have our first special guest speaker coming in. He is a gastroenterologist who specializes working with people who have neurologic diagnoses like Parkinson's. So the gut-brain interaction we just talked about with the probiotic research, this is his area of specialty. He is scheduled to come and join us on January 23rd, which is a Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We should be able to record that meeting, so we'll have it in the video library afterwards. But I'm super excited, and I'm really excited to have it scheduled in advance. So my goal for next year is probably to try to get guest speakers on specific topics, maybe every other month. So like January, March, May, July, etc. And then me or one of our therapists do a presentation for the even months of the year. So those are some things I'm still working on, but I'm trying to get some things booked a little bit further in advance. Then our online book club will be happening on Wednesday, January 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're reading the book Horse, a Novel. So that's a great one to get now and have time to read before January. This is what it looks like. The artwork on the book is beautiful. I really love the colors. And this is the summary of the book. Kentucky, 1850. An enslaved groom named Jarrett and a bay foal forge a bond of understanding that will carry the horse to record-setting victories across the South. When the nation erupts in civil war, an itinerant young artist who has made his name on paintings of the racehorse takes up arms for the Union. On a perilous night, he reunites the stallion with his groom, very far from the glamour of any racetrack. And then there's basically like 3 timelines in this book. New York City, 1954. Martha Jackson, a gallery owner celebrated for taking risks on edgy contemporary painters, becomes obsessed with a 19th century equestrian oil painting of mysterious provenance. And then in Washington, D.C., 2019, Jess, a Smithsonian scientist from Australia, and Theo, a Nigerian-American art historian, will find themselves unexpectedly connected through their shared interest in the horse. One studying the stallion's bones for clues to his power and endurance, the other uncovering the lost history of the unsung Black horsemen who were critical to his racing success. Based on the remarkable true story of the record-breaking thoroughbred Lexington, Horse is a novel of art and science, love and obsession, and our unfinished reckoning with racism. So this book is our next book club. I think it's going to be a great discussion. You can purchase the paper book. I'm listening to the audio book currently. I just started it. So just wanted to share that since there's time. Book club has been a fun addition to our schedule. In terms of our group class update, no changes to the schedule. Right now, our staffing is staying the same. No new maternity leaves just yet, not until next year. So no changes for classes for this month. This month, in-person meetings, we have our support groups. The first week of the month, it's today actually, is our support group for members with Parkinson's. Next Tuesday is for spouses and partners. And the third week of the month is for everyone to join, people with Parkinson's and their spouses. I have had one request for an online support group. So that's also something that I'll probably send an email out to ask about to see, how many people would be interested in that. And then we have our balance training programs for in-person members. If anybody hasn't scheduled that, we highly recommend it. December is a good month to do it. We've got some openings. So future educational meetings. This is something that I am really hoping to have a little bit of time to work on in December to contact some more people and be able to schedule things out a little bit further in advance. So we have our neuro GI doctor scheduled already to come in January. We are interested in having a guest lecturer, physician, neurologist on dystonia and dyskinesia. Want to talk about new treatments in the pipeline. Neuro-ophthalmologist, Dr. Crow was one I'd reached out to. Didn't hear back from him, but I'll probably try again. I sometimes receive emails and don't respond to them because I get busy or lose track of it. So really can't blame busy people. Sleep and then neurourology. And I have a lead for sleep as well that I need to follow up on. And I also have a neurourologist that I'm going to reach out to and see if she'll be available in the new year. So I've got some people, but it's just a matter of me having time to reach out for them, coordinate it, and kind of get things scheduled in advance. So I'll be working on that. Let me know if there are any other topics or speakers that you have an interest in. And hopefully 2026 will be the year that we have the opportunity to bring in more guest speakers. So 2026 ideas. Doing some challenges throughout the year to keep us motivated and try new things. As I mentioned, I'm kind of thinking that we're going to do that 3 times. We will have a physical or exercise goal and then also something that is non-exercise. Our weekly exercise coaching calls during that time will kind of be a little more structured and specific. Overall, with our coaching calls, I'm happy to talk about anything. I like to try and do kind of follow-ups and check in with people that we've had discussions on previous weeks. During the challenge, we haven't decided exactly how long the challenge will be. Will it be like a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks? So while we're doing it, our exercise coaching calls we'll check in, like, what was your goal and have you met it? Like, what have you learned during this past week and what are you trying to integrate? So there'll be a little bit more structure to them. And so, I think it's going to be somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks for each of them. Maddie is probably going to help me with this. And so I have to meet with her again to kind of talk about what we want this to look like. And I'm definitely open to any feedback and ideas from all of you. Those are ideas. And if you all have any other ideas for 2026 or things you'd like to see us do and incorporate into our programming, please let me know. So now we are at the point where I can answer any questions about what we talked about today or anything else. And if you do have any thoughts or ideas or requests, please let me know. So I'm going to stop the share. Feel free to unmute or put something in the chat if you do have any questions or suggestions. Anyone have any thoughts? No, all good. Excited for 2026. Excited for maybe a little bit more of a low key month in December and then get started with some new fun things in 2026.
Hey Claire, can I share something?
Please do.
I follow Dr. Oken on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and so in the Plan 25, there's I think number 4 talks about enjoying wine without pesticides.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who, especially with the holidays coming up, who want to enjoy a glass of wine with family members at dinner or, something, a special occasion. He had suggested, and I didn't realize this, but well, he suggested organic first of all in your wine purchase, and then another little tip he gave was to make sure your wine is a product of Italy, because it's notoriously known for using less pesticides, and
Mm.
wines from France were higher in pesticides because of their farming and how they just use a lot more. I didn't know that it was a real
Mm.
tip. Now it's been a challenge to find that. Like at Natural Grocers, they have a little organic wine section. So finding something organic wasn't a challenge, but finding something that was, when you turn the label over and you look at it, a product of, you want to make sure it says product of Italy. So and then they had a couple of reds. But anyway, I thought, well, I'll just pass that on. Not that I'm the wine lush here, but if anybody wants to celebrate with family and have a little glass of wine and not feel guilty or feeling like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, but that makes me feel better about it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I
Yeah,
would
I
share
hadn't
with
even gotten to number 4. So that's interesting. And I do think that's probably something that I bet there's a little bit less Italian wines because of all this stuff with tariffs. I don't think we have quite as much access to international products as we have had at times in the past.
you. Yeah, that could
Um,
be true. Yeah.
so I think that's part of it. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking and it might require going, instead of buying just at your grocery store, if you have an actual like wine shop in your area, you might be able to find more there. They might be working a little bit harder to keep the supply from, different places. And it probably does mean it's going to be more expensive, but for me, when it comes to what I put in my body in terms of what I eat,
Mhm.
I'm not going to, be unreasonable with I'm not going to buy the most expensive thing, but that's not the place where I'm trying to cut costs the most in my life. I can think about cost for a lot of other areas, but food, I'm going to buy the best quality food I can afford. And I think that's really true for wine that, more expensive. It's not always more expensive is better, but somewhere kind of in the middle, um, is probably going to be a little bit higher quality than buying the cheapest stuff. And then when you buy more expensive, you drink it differently. Like you enjoy every sip and, yeah, one glass is plenty. Whereas when it's cheap, might pour a little bit faster into your glass. And that's where one thing about wine, not to make anybody too sad, but at one point in time, it was thought that the research said that moderate drinking is good for us. And it turns out that a really big study that was published at one point in time that said that like minimal, 1 to 2 glasses a week was actually better than no alcohol was not, that study was not done correctly. They basically included people who didn't drink, but the reason they weren't drinking was because they'd had health problems with drinking. And so they were included in the group that was not drinking, and that skewed the results. Whereas if they took that group of people who had stopped drinking for health reasons, and then they just looked at people who have never drank alcohol versus people who drink a little bit, moderate and high levels, they showed that the less you drink towards zero, the better. So I think it's very different than the conversation we're having right now, having a little bit at the holidays. That to me is separate, but when it comes to, in general, alcohol, a little bit is not probably actually good for us. And so when we're just thinking about all the ways that we can be healthier, none of us are going to do everything 100%. So we're going to try to exercise, get good sleep, eat healthy. And, for a lot of us thinking about our health, we really are minimizing alcohol intake too. And that is another thing that is good for us. Pardon?
It's an organization called Dry Farm Wines, and they basically figure out the wineries that are healthier,
European,
mostly European, or they're all European, and slightly lower alcohol content.
Yeah, they do all the testing, and I think most of it's biodynamic, which would answer the question of pesticides. But they they measure all that, and they're low alcohol and low sugar wine.
Nice. What was the name of that?
Dry Farm Wines.
Dry Farm Wines.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard of that before. I'm gonna share.
It's like a subscription service.
But you can get gift packs. You don't have to. You can buy a bit here and there. Well, for Christmas, I had to get his approval, but Chuck's getting some red wine for Christmas.
Yeah, and this is great too. Again, if you try and look at your local store and aren't really seeing what you're looking for, so organic, sugar-free, low alcohol, European wine. So this is the high quality stuff. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. I will put the link for this in the chat.
Yeah. If you can get something you like, then you'll know they've done all the testing, so you can just purchase it if you can locally.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, only 5% of wines worldwide are organic.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We're not big wine drinkers, but we did before Parkinson's subscribe, mostly white. Chuck can't have white anymore, so you buy a little bit of red here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the bubbly.
Yeah, same here. Just here and there, special occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. All right. Does anyone have any thoughts? Catherine, I think you had emailed me about the challenge, and I saw your email, but I haven't had a chance to digest the whole thing yet. But yeah, anybody else have ideas about the challenges that we maybe do in 2026? Like time frame of how long we do it for. Does 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks sound more appealing?
What do you think?
I think it depends. And I think much. Are you going to post the results, or so people can see how they're doing against everyone as like a competition, or is it just strictly you measure at the beginning, you measure at the end?
So we would still be having our weekly exercise coaching calls. And so I think during that time, the weekly calls would be a little bit more focused on what that challenge is. So, if let's say we did it for 6 weeks, the first week during the exercise coaching call, we would say, okay, here's the challenge, for this next time period, whether it's 4, 6, or 8 weeks. And here's what we're going to focus on. Like, we're going to focus on steps. So one is that you got to figure out a way that you're going to monitor your activity and step level. So we'd probably announce what it is, and then we'd have about a week for people to kind of get organized and choose what their goal is. And if someone really doesn't want to actually measure steps, we might just say, then you're going to measure, time that you spend going for walks or something. And that's something that you could, still set a goal for. So we would ideally have, kind of some tech that would help us measure whatever the goal is. But we'd also have a non-tech version of you're just going to increase your activity levels and, steps through the amount of time that you spend walking throughout the day. And then we'd pick, probably a few of the things in the book, and you would get to pick. Do you want to focus on one of those things, making a change to kind of your lifestyle, or do you want to pick multiple things? So that first week we'd announce here's the options, here's what we're going to be doing and why, here's what the research says. Then we'd have a week for you to pick your things and get organized. We would meet the next week and people would share in the call. I don't know that we would necessarily post. And I think in terms of a competition, that's something we can kind of figure out too. Is that something that people enjoy and is helpful and motivating? I don't think, to me, my first thought is not that it's a competition, but that we maybe would have the opportunity for people to share their information to share wins and things like that. And we'd still have our weekly calls to kind of check in. And then hopefully it would be on those weekly calls, people would be saying like, this is how it went. This is, I was able to do this or I wasn't able to do this. And because sometimes like you're not going to do it from one week to the next. And then that's what we come together to talk about is like, how can we help make this happen in the next time period? So that's what we're there for, is to come together and try to inspire each other and help us all, follow through on doing what we want to do. So that's what we're kind of thinking it would look like. We'd probably make, a form that might be, you could print it out paper, or it's something that you could fill out digitally to kind of keep track of, did you get 7,000 steps per day on each of these days or not? And then we kind of look and review that and see where we're at, and then check in and see like, if you are meeting those goals, are you noticing or feeling any changes? So that's kind of what I'm thinking of so far.
I think tracking is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, because then that's your inspiration every day to say, I got it. And if you even break your steps up over several times, because everybody's going to have a different step goal because everybody's different. But if you're shooting for 7,000 and you went out for your big walk and you have 5,000, then you'll do something to get that extra 2,000 to move.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think tracking it will be like, I got to get that done today. Got to get that in so I could check it off.
Yeah, it really helps. And to schedule things like, what time of day is your preferred time to do that? And it definitely can be different steps for different people. But there was a recent research that I talked about a month or two ago that is 7,000 steps a day is the number that shows really strong correlation with decreased mortality and, cognitive changes and fall risk and stuff. So, that would be a number that I'd say, we would be encouraging people to work towards. It just depends. Right. Like if someone's, at 1,000 per day, it's going to take a little bit longer to get towards 7,000. But yeah, so I can send a poll out. So the length of challenge is a question. I might put like a voting to pick kind of the type of challenge. I mean, I definitely want steps to be one. And then my thought on the other one was like consistency of exercise, like frequency throughout the week.
That's why I think the tracking helps too.
And then like trying something new is a challenge that I like. But I can put a poll out where people just could submit other options for what that kind of exercise or physical goal is.
Well, you have
it wouldn't overcomplicate.
Yeah.
It would crawl before you walk.
Yeah.
Meaning if you do steps, that's probably a really good one to start out with. Average number of steps a day. How many days a week were you above the 7,000 if that's the goal? And kind of set up for the next one, because I'm sure you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
How people don't like it, etc.
I like the idea of 4 weeks, because if it's a hard thing, you think, oh, I can do anything for 4 weeks. I mean, I try to think that sometimes when I'm on the treadmill and, they're going, I'm looking down, I'm going, oh, I can't do it. And then, all right, 10 more minutes. I think I can do it.
Kringle.
Yeah, that's right. If I eat the Kringle, I think the Kringle will give me more energy on the treadmill.
You're right.
No, but I just like the idea of 4 weeks, because it seems like it's a month. It's a start and a stop. And oh no, are you trying to say something, Billy? You were waving, and
so you're muted.
I was trying to get Gail's attention.
You got mine instead.
Well, I hate Gail and I have been challenging each other on getting our steps in. So I was texting her to see if she was ready to share that yet, because we haven't even been doing it quite a week. And so at the end of the day, we just text each other something simple like, 3,000 steps and the date. And 3,000 steps the date, and I didn't have a good day today. So, and so that, knowing that we're going to get a text from each other at the end of the day is like, I got to get up and walk and get some steps in. So that might be something to put on the list too. But
you could have a buddy.
Pardon me?
Yeah. You could have a buddy
Yeah, we could have a
I like the
buddy system.
Yeah, the buddy system, yeah.
Yeah.
Or some sort of kind of like group chat or something. Like, I don't know exactly the best way to do that with a bigger group, but that might be something where it's like, yeah, people participating in this challenge, we have some sort of separate way of communicating on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I think buddy system would be a little bit easier to do because we could kind of just like pair people up. But it also might be fun to have the bigger group and like all get the opportunity to share and kind of check in with each other. So something like that, I think, is a great like check-in, having a daily like check-in. And then Linda, what you were saying in terms of 4 weeks, I agree. Like that's what I feel like I can kind of argue for like a 4 week, a 6 weeks and an 8 weeks. But in some ways, I think like shorter is better. And of course, if you have like, we talked about this, this kind of came up because 2 weeks ago, we did a meeting about doing some review of 2025 and setting goals for 2026 and what helps you follow through on your goals. And so having a period of time where there's a little heightened accountability, the goal is that if you have kind of a behavior change during that month, in a lot of cases, like if you have a behavior change for 21 days, you're more likely to continue with it. So a month is a little bit longer than that. If you do have a behavior change in a month, you're more likely to continue with that afterwards. If we do a month, I think what we would do is we would have like a call kind of kicking off the challenge. And then we would give it a week for everybody to kind of get ready. And then we would do a month. So it'd sort of be like 5 weeks of time. But that first week is like, just get ready. If you are going to get a device to help you actually measure your steps during the day, we'll have a thing where we write down, here's options. A Fitbit, an Apple Watch. If you already have a phone, most phones have the capability. And then it's just a matter of having your phone on you, maybe more throughout the day. So you might get a little fanny pack to put your phone in or something. So you can use maybe a device that you already have, or if you were kind of just measuring like minutes of walking or something like that. So we'd have like a week of get ready and then 4 weeks of actually doing it. And then of course, like the ability to continue with it afterwards. But I agree. I think kind of the short commitment time makes people maybe a little bit more likely to get going with it. If we're saying, oh, this is for 8 weeks, then each week you can be like, well, I'll start next week. Right. Says the procrastinator.
Or like, this is too much. I'll never make the 8 weeks.
Yeah. So why even bother trying? There's all sorts of different conversations we have in our own heads.
The other thing, prior to Parkinson's, I was a member of a gym that did a competitive challenge, and they called it Operation Muffin Top. So it was about losing weight. But one of the things you did is you made up your fake name so that you didn't feel like if you had a bad week or something, someone's not pointing the finger at Chuck. If they want to comment, they're commenting on Silver Surfer or whatever my nickname might be on the thing to keep it hidden.
Well,
I mean, at some point when the winners, when you win, you expose the person. Well, not expose, but you tell who it is.
Yeah. So this would be for winning. So
go ahead.
I was just saying that there's no winner. It's like it's more for consistency and building habits. But I think the community part of it is very important as well.
Yeah, I agree.
One another and
Yeah. And I think some of those things are fun though, like having a funny name for the challenge makes it, a little more entertaining and like, having nicknames, something like that. So I have to look up and see if there is like, a system that we could use like for a group chat where, for a period of time we enter and like you can make your own name and there's communication happening. And then when we're not using it, we all can take a break from it. So these are great ideas. So I can send out a poll. But I do think we're leaning towards like the 1 month. And my thought was that we were going to do this 3 times next year. Maybe like the first one would be in March. We'd kind of spread it out throughout the year and have slightly different ones. But once we do the first one, we will learn a lot from that. So we'll see like, was a month good? Or do we feel like a little bit longer would have been helpful? So when we do the first one, we'll learn a lot and be able to, make it better each time we do it throughout the year.
Yeah. People will get used to having a challenge.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna be really fun. And we'll also use this. Probably this will be a time where we kind of like market for new members for the online membership. That's something, we're running. It's great. I love working out with all of you, but we also do want to let more people know about it who could benefit. And so we've had some like ads on Facebook and things running that I just don't feel very excited about, but we'd love to meet, and get some new members joining. So I think these challenges would be a great way to do that. We'll probably do like a separate webinar that would be to the public about it, or that might be combined. And then we'll say, if you want to join us for this challenge, join, Rogue in Motion for this month to try it out. And then they'll have access to the exercise coaching calls. And so that would be an opportunity, a way for us to let people know about the membership and for them to have an opportunity to try it. And because that's something you kind of have to like mix up over the years. And we haven't done that much for like a year or two. I don't know. We have these ads running on Facebook, but
being able to see the people that you're doing this with and encouraging one another, that would make them want to stay as part of the group.
Exactly. Because that's what is so powerful is the community and, having people to check in with. And like, I love so much to hear about Gail and Billy, like when people do kind of connect separate from the membership, and whether like, we have a member who lives in California, but not really close to us, who traveled all the way across the country, and two members got together in person and met each other because they've developed such a great friendship from meeting online and like, texting, emailing, phone calls. There's so much opportunity, and it does make a huge difference to have friends and people who get what you're going through, and someone who isn't prejudging like who you've been in the past. Like, oh, you've never really been someone who exercises. Your people who are around you might, when you start to exercise or do different behaviors, they're like, who is this person? This is weird. You've never been like this before. But someone who doesn't have any, pre-knowledge about you is like, oh, you're exercising, you're getting these steps in per day. That's awesome. Like, yeah, let's make these changes together. There is no age in our life or time frame where we, can't make more changes and be a different version of ourselves and be the healthiest, best version of ourselves. So yeah, I think those connections are really cool. Before we end, Lucy and Andy shared in the chat that some dry cleaners just collect their clothes at the storefronts and send them out to cleaning, which at least decreases the amount of those chemicals in the area. I also asked if the dry cleaner near my grocery store in Papa Murphy's uses the PCE, known as PERC in the industry, and TGC. They said no, and that they use hydrocarbons. What I don't know is if hydrocarbons is or just another name. And then the pull consistency. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. I know about that too. Not because I don't do very much dry cleaning, but I know the dry cleaner near our house, I think it was something we were going to take there. And then they were like, oh yeah, we don't do it on site. It has to get sent out. And I was like, oh, so that is a difference if they're just a storefront versus if they're actually doing the cleaning there. That's a great question to ask if you're considering making changes. And I'm kind of curious now to see the one that's down the building from us.
Yep. That's what I was hoping, that the one down the strip mall from you, maybe you can pop in there and ask them. And that was a typo. It's TCE, not TGC.
Yeah. Well, I thought so, but I was not 100% sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I like the idea of like somehow coordinating this with the opportunity for other people to participate, because we have a lot of friends and people we know with Parkinson's, but I never feel comfortable. I can't, I wouldn't share any of this stuff with them because we have the membership and they don't. But if you have something like that, it's almost like when I can bring a friend to my gym on a free pass, on a day pass or something. We could intentionally then maybe share like, the recording of whatever that you make available to the public at large. And that way, then they could see what this is all about and how wonderful and awesome it is. And I could like be an infomercial for you with all our friends that have Parkinson's.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. That's a great idea. Like saying, yeah, join us for this challenge. Because then it's fun if you have people in the area. Like it's fun to have some people locally that you're doing that challenge with, and maybe you're getting together to do some of your walks and get your steps in. And yeah, that's a really good idea.
And do a flyer so people can share them with the support groups and stuff.
That's a great idea. That's an awesome idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you can leave them in the neurologist's office as well. We pick up stuff from there when we go in for visits.
And that's one reason that makes me want to be a little bit pre-organized about the plan for the challenges. because I feel like if we know kind of the 3 times we're going to do them throughout the year and have a few things organized, then if we make a flyer, we can pass it out for the whole year. So even if someone misses the one we do in March, like, they could do one of the ones later in the year, and it just, the flyer and information has a little more longevity to it. So I think we can, even though we'll learn during the first one, we can make tweaks to the subsequent ones. We might still kind of get organized about what all 3 of them are going to be early on so that we can make that flyer and share it. Or we maybe just make a different flyer for each one. We'll see. But yeah, lots of ideas.
You should have different themes for each one, so you can kind of make them look different too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I can ask later. I have a question about the care partner. So the ones that you had up earlier, are those in-person care partner meetings? And you're thinking about next year having something possibly online? Is that what I heard? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, we have support groups in person. When we first started Rogue in Motion, we had online support groups for a period of time. But it's just like everything, you kind of need to like make changes, and like it fizzled after a while. So we stopped doing it. But one time by accident, I sent out about these support groups in the daily email for the online members. That I send out 2 different emails. They're very similar, but I take out like things that are happening in person. I take out for the online membership because I don't want you guys to see things that are not relevant. But one time I forgot to take that out. And so an online member was like, oh, I want to do that support group. And I was like, oh, shoot, that wasn't supposed to be there. And it's not really accessible. But yeah, I'm interested if people, there are some other resources out there. Parkinson's Movement Disorders. Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Alliance is a great organization that has some groups online. But it is different, like us hosting something at Rogue where it's Rogue members, like this is a specific group of people exercising, taking action. It's a little bit different than a group that is like open to the public. So I can totally see why like what we could offer might be different than what exists otherwise. And then it's just more details too. Like, is it something where we feel like it should be led by a social worker, like our in-person meeting is? Because that's something like we didn't have a support group in person for a long time because I didn't feel like I was the person to lead that. I'm a physical therapist. I like to talk about a lot of things, but leading a support group is a very specific skill, guiding the group and talking about, the correct topics and at the correct depth of topic. Like there's such a thing as TMI, like sharing too much information in a group or, going too deep with a group that doesn't know each other that well. And all these things that, now working with a social worker, I know I trust her to really do a great job leading these groups. So it's like, would we want to have her or someone like her leading the groups online? Is it more like open forum? So this is another thing that I feel like, I need to send out an email with some questions, like how many people are interested and what type of group are we interested in? One that's for everyone, one that's specific for spouses, specific for people with Parkinson's.
Would you ever consider having the online group join with the in-person group? Like just, like all of
session.
What? Yeah, like what?
Blended workout session.
Like a blended workout session, like a blended meeting.
I have, but I don't love blended meetings personally because like for exercise classes, your attention is different. There's people online and there's people in person. And as somebody teaching a class, it makes your attention divided because the way that you interact with people online is different than in person. And like if you're in a group with people in person and then you're talking to a computer, that's awkward for the people that you have in person. And then for the people online, if you're talking to people off camera, that's awkward for the people online. So, that's why like with all of our exercise classes, we have 2 separate schedules and we are either there online with only people who are online. So that's where our attention is. And that's how we're teaching. We are, connected to the people who are online with us in the computer and not distracted. I mean, sometimes we get distracted when something happens behind that, but we're not trying to teach to 2 different groups. And I think the same thing is challenging with like a support group because the way that we communicate and talk is different if we're online versus in person. In person, multiple people can be talking at the same time and you can hear each other. Online, if multiple people are talking at the same time, you can't hear what either of the person's saying. So I really think that groups have to be run a little bit different when they're in person or online to really run them as well as possible. And I know some groups actually that happened like kind of as, COVID was ending, that had online groups, and then they started to get back together in person, and they tried to do both. And I've never heard of that working out really well. I've always heard of it kind of being awkward for one or the other group, and like managing it is pretty difficult. And that's another thing I'm considering is, making it as enjoyable as possible for the person who's leading the group and teaching it, that when you really feel like your attention is divided between people online and in person, that's really not fun for the person leading it. Like we tried one point doing cardio classes mixed in person and online, and it was not good. We'd go over and trying to be standing at the computer talking to people online, and then we feel like we're ignoring the people who are exercising in person behind us. And then we'd walk away from the computer to help the people working out in person. And then I feel like people online would feel, kind of ignored. So I personally am not a fan of trying to do it mixed. Long story short. So
I would agree. Those are tough. Yeah.
Yeah. I really prefer just to focus on one group of people and do it really well. And so if we're going to do an online support group, we think about what's the best way to do this. And then that's how we would do it. So definitely another, thing that we'll look at. And like a lot of times what we'll do if we're interested in doing something is we'll say like, hey, in February, we're going to try a support group. It's going to be on this date and time. It's going to be for people with Parkinson's. Anyone who wants to join. The next month, maybe we do it like the way our schedule currently runs. We do have 1 week a month that our social worker isn't leading a group in person. So that would be one way that we could get started, and we could kind of try it out and see how it goes. And then same thing, maybe rotate through the different groups for people with Parkinson's, for spouses and partners, and then for everyone to come together to chat about things. So that's definitely something we can put on the list for 2026. All righty. Well, anything else before we wrap up for today? Stephanie's probably here. I ran right into the speech class. For any of you who have joined in the last 9 minutes, we were just wrapping up our monthly membership meeting. And so sorry I cut into speech class time. I see now a lot of people here for speech class who are like, what is Claire talking about? So I will wrap it up. And we got lots of things to get organized about for 2026. I'm going to remove my spotlight. I will add yours, Stephanie. I'm going to stop this recording